Good evening, fellow rhetoric, public speaking, politic, and debate nerds. Thank you for joining me on this very, very fine night. Right now it is October 10th, and I have just finished watching and going through and picking my clips from the presidential debate of Trump v. Clinton. Now tonight is also Canadian Thanksgiving, and as a Canadian, I must say that, American friends, I apologize for this, that I'm really thankful that this isn't my election. Because, man, there is a lot of mudslinging going on in this debate. There's a lot of attacks and accusations and just general disparagement without a lot of exploration of issues. And I know that many of you are frustrated with this, and rest assured, many of us up here north of the border feel your pain. On the other hand, it's also pretty entertaining to watch. Yay, politics! So I have been through the debate tonight. I've picked the couple of clips that I'm going to go through, and as always with Pop-Up Rhetoric, we're only going to be looking at very, very few devices, just 2 or 3 devices that do get used in rhetoric, because if we were to look at them all, we'd be here all evening. Now, when you are looking at the way that people use rhetoric, it is pretty important to remember that we don't necessarily think about the rhetoric that we're using when we're using it. Even if it isn't consciously strategic, it doesn't mean that it's not there. I think that a lot of Trump's use of rhetoric is unplanned, is off the top of his head, and I do believe that that's why it is so undisciplined. And contrary, I think that Clinton's rhetoric is very well planned. It's very political, it's very lawyerly. It's something that she's been doing for so long that she has a deep understanding of how to work her words. This also shows up, I believe, in the differences that you see between how much Trump's rhetoric skips around, why he moves from rhetorical device to rhetorical device to rhetorical device very quickly in a compressed period of time. Whereas, as you'll see in the clip, Clinton tends to take a few devices, stick with them, and use them over the period of several minutes. So when you're watching these two clips, you will notice that there will be far more pop-ups, far more devices being pointed out in Trump's clip than in Clinton's clip. And this is simply because of how they use rhetoric differently. So on with the devices that we're going to be looking at tonight. The devices that we're going to be looking at is mostly on how we refute and rebut each other's arguments. And the ones that we're going to be looking at are, first up, anticategoria. I'm just going to check my notes to make sure that I get this down. Anticategoria. This is a retort which is created by turning the accusation that's been leveled at you against your opponent. So you take the accusation that you've been given and you flip it around and say, oh yeah, well you do the exact same thing and here's how. A good example of this would be if I went up to you and said, hey, you are really, really sneaky. I know that you are going into the kitchen after everyone goes to bed in the evening and you're taking out all the cookies in the cookie jar. I caught it on tape. Here's proof. I set up a camera to catch you doing this. You, my friend, are a sneak. And then you say, oh, really? Well, who is the sneaky one? Yeah, I might be a bit sneaky for going and getting the cookies, but you're the one who set up hidden cameras in the kitchen. What kind of freakishly sneaky person does that? You're the sneaky one. That's an example of anticategoria. The next one that we're going to look at is apodoioxis. This is the rejection of a person or an idea or a thing by making them out to be morally or intellectually bad. So you're saying that the thing or the argument is completely irrelevant, or that the person's a liar, that everything they say is untrue, or that the person is very, very wicked. You'll see this come up a few times in the clips tonight. Then we're going to look at a tool that's used to compare and contrast within a rebuttal, or within a bunch of different areas of rhetoric actually, and that is juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is often referred to as a literary rhetorical device, but it also appears in spoken rhetoric and in debate, as you'll see. And this is when you take two things, two ideas or items or people, and you place them right beside each other so that the audience can draw a direct comparison if you want them to look like they're the same, or a contrast if you want to demonstrate how they're different. That's juxtaposition. I'm also including, just for fun, a couple of extra little bonus rhetoric devices. I'm not going to tell you what they are here. You'll see them pop up at the bottom of the screen when they come up, but they are used to increase the impact of the refutes and of the arguments that are being leveled. So, with that being said, sit back, enjoy, and let's do this thing.
Jeff from Ohio asks on Facebook, Trump says the campaign has changed him. When did that happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add to that. When you walked off that bus at age 59, were you a different man, or did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for this.
As I told you, that was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this country, and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened. If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics
In
this nation that's been
of
so
politics.
abusive to women.
The history.
So you can say any way you want to say it, but Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight. One of the women, who is a wonderful woman, at 12 years old, was raped at 12. Her client, she represented, got him off, and she's seen laughing on 2 separate occasions, laughing at the girl who was raped. Kathy Shelton, that young woman, is here with us tonight. So don't tell me about words. I apologize for those words. But it is things that people say. But what President Clinton did, he was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women, Paula Jones, who's also here tonight. And I will tell you that when Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Can we please hold the applause?
Be the best president I can be for every American.
Secretary Clinton, your 2 minutes is up. I want to follow up on something that Donald Trump actually said to you, a comment you made last month. You said that half of Donald Trump's supporters are, quote, deplorables, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. You later said you regretted saying half. You didn't express regret for using the term deplorables. To Mr. Carter's question, how can you unite a country if you've written all
I like the full one, basket of deplorables.
Well, within hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my argument is not with his supporters, it's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run, and the inciting of violence at his rallies, and the very brutal kinds of comments about not just women, but all Americans, all kinds of Americans. And what he has said about African Americans and Latinos, about Muslims, about POWs, about immigrants, about people with disabilities, he's never apologized for. And so I do think that a lot of the tone and tenor that he has said, I'm proud of the campaign that Bernie Sanders and I ran. We ran a campaign based on issues, not insults, and he is supporting me 100%. Because we talked about what we wanted to do. We might have had some differences, and we had a lot of debates, but we believed that we could make the country better, and I was proud of that.
I'm going to give you a minute 20.
So there you have it, a couple of clips and some insights from debate number 2 as to how these two are indeed using rhetorical devices to spar with each other up on stage. Of course, trying to jam absolutely all the words into a really strict definition of a rhetorical device can be a bit tricky at times. Some of you may feel that maybe they use some different things in there. If so, I'd love your feedback. Let's get a conversation on what we're hearing when we're listening to politicians debate. I think it helps out the whole electoral process. Well, I will be doing another one. There is, God help us, one more debate coming up. So I hope you join me back here for that one. And I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great night.